Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Pete Grosso. I am responsible for holding this together this morning. If you've not received a leaflet, could you just indicate, because there are ushers who still have leaflets available. I know some of you came in other doors. Cool. We have gathered this morning to remember the life of Johannes Philippus de Villiers van Niekerk, but we all knew him as JP. Because JP was involved in so many different aspects of life, it's entirely possible that you might be sitting with people who you don't know, and you might even be wondering who the hell they are. So if I can just level the playing field for a moment and ask you to introduce yourself to the people around you and say to them, how are you connected to JP? I am going to interrupt us. I do suspect if I didn't, you would talk all morning. How am I connected to JP? I am pastor to Annette and JP. I've been a friend for many years. JP's dragged me off to the Owl Club and to any number of press lunches and walking on the mountain because he was that kind of guy. We're going to sing a hymn together. It is in the leaflet that you have. It is Psalm 23. I would invite us to stand and sing together.
Pastures green, he
I think it's only right that we begin by expressing our condolences to Annette and to JP's brother, Buti, and to Gerry and Joe, and to the members of the family at the loss of a husband, a brother, a father, a grandfather. And I would hope you would see our presence here as a sign of our love for JP and as a sign of our support for all of you. I have a prayer which is taken from hospice. JP, who was so deeply involved in hospice over the years, it felt right to use one of the hospice prayers. So let us pray. Divine Presence, we are here to honor a life that touched so many. We recognize the void left by JP van Niekerk's absence, but we also know the enduring legacy of his life woven into the fabric of our lives. Help us to find joy in our memories and to know that love in its truest form is never truly lost. Guide us through this sacred time. Amen. So today's celebration of JP's life comes in two parts, chapter 1, chapter 2. The first is a formal reflection on his life, followed by a time of sharing stories and snacks and tea. And I know that each of you sitting here has at least one story about JP, if not more than one. So before we get to those who have prepared their speeches, I'm wondering whether you'd be willing to talk to that person that you've just introduced yourself to. If having introduced yourself you don't like that person, say, move up, I'll find someone else. But if you're willing to talk with them and share one JP story, what story do you have about JP? Try it on each other. And so let me interrupt us. Let me interrupt us by suggesting that if JP were here now, he'd say, can't we just skip the stuff and get to the tea? Because he was not one who welcomed great attention on himself. He loved talking about other people. He loved celebrating the lives of others. We have some invited speakers who will be speaking to different aspects of his life, and you will see the order as has been set up by the family. We kind of gave each speaker 5 minutes. I can almost hear JP saying, no, cut it to 2 minutes and let's get the red wine out. Those who pay tribute to JP's life, in a sense, pay tribute to someone who's touched all of our lives, and all of us have stories about him. We're hoping that the tributes will touch somewhere in your own life as well. But we are expecting that after this formal part is finished, that you'd continue the storytelling with each other. We will begin our storytelling with JP's brother, Jack Boetie. The stories will then flow unannounced. So each person will see their place on the program, and if they would come up as appropriate. JP's brothers asked dispensation not to climb the stairs up here, so he will address us from the front.
Okay, let me up in. Oh, he wants to sit here.
Just wanted to sit looking at the...
Hi there. I'm Boetie. Although JP was born in Cape Town, he didn't live in Cape Town all of his life. My father was a civil servant, and his entire career was with a land bank. So soon after JP was born, he was transferred to Potchefstroom, and that's where Boetie came into the picture. After Potchefstroom, it was Cradock. After Cradock, it was Pietermaritzburg. And in Pietermaritzburg, JP taught himself how to play the mouth organ. You're all going to hear about that. Now, JP was, at the age of 13, already mature. He was far older than his age. And although he was small in stature, JP was a giant. Anyway, from Pietermaritzburg back to Cape Town, and from Cape Town back to Potchefstroom. But JP abandoned ship at that stage because he was at university, and he didn't carry on with the migration. From Potchefstroom to Vryburg. Now, Vryburg is very relevant because there were two very important families that lived there. And the one family was Herman van Gent, a very successful lawyer, and his wife, Nelly. And they had a fabulous daughter, Nettie. The other family, important family, was Ben van Niekerk. He was the manager of the Land and Agricultural Bank of Vryburg, and his wife, Gurley, and their wunderkind, JP. And the rest is history. But just a little side thing, the Van Niekerks lived at number 10, and I repeat, number 10, not Downing Street, but Van Niekerk Street. Now, JP and I, during the life of our parents, we never spoke a word of English to my father. We never spoke a word of Afrikaans to my mother. That's just the way it was. And in 86 years, JP and I had one fight. That lasted all of 10 seconds, and JP was called the victor on points. Anyway, JP was the epitome of an elder brother. He really, the mantle of an elder brother, like all of the other mantles, he carried with perfection. JP was most supportive throughout my life. And when June and I couldn't solve a problem, we had to refer to JP. And the one thing, all of you have been touched by JP, but the one thing that I can say is JP was my brother.
This is the first time that I meet somebody who claims to be JP's brother. And that sort of evoked a sense of, a sibling rivalry, because I always considered myself to be the brother of JP. And many more people who looked at us together would probably think that we were brothers, except for the one problem, that was one insurmountable evidence to the contrary. But JP and I have worked together, known each other, lived together for many years. JP was born in Cape Town on 29 December 1936. His father, as has been mentioned, worked for the Land Bank and was frequently relocated, so that JP was educated at 8 different schools, primary and secondary schools all over the country. Thereafter, he entered medical school in 1959 at UCT. He then accepted appointment as a medical officer after he graduated from UCT. As medical officer at Ernest Oppenheimer Hospital in Welkom, where he remained for 6 years. His next big step was to return to Cape Town to specialize in radiology. And then upon completion of the training, JP then joined a private practice diagnostic radiology partnership in Cape Town, where he remained for nearly 10 years. And he and his partners were part-time lecturers at Stellenbosch University Medical School. At some point, JP was elected president of the Western Cape Radiological Society. During this time, he was made an attractive offer to head a radiology department at a medical school in Australia, which JP seriously considered. But then finally turned it down, deciding that he could contribute more in South Africa. Subsequently, he was appointed deputy dean in 1978 and substantive dean in 1990 of the Faculty of Medicine at UCT. JC was much liked and well regarded by the UCT community during his deanship. JP had a huge social conscience and accordingly was involved with a variety of charitable organizations and other public good entities. For one, he was an active member and later chairman and patron of the Hospice Palliative Care Association of South Africa. Now, the other day I was chatting with a friend of mine who's in the UK, and he was saying to me that if one were to sum up JP in one word, what word would it be? And he suggested that that word would be wisdom. And I agreed with him. But then, as I thought about it, I thought there are other words that are just as valid in terms of JP's person. Generosity, humanity, integrity, humility. JP was a very humble man. He was also a very generous person. So he was all of these words, and that is why his legacy will live with us for as long as we shall live. Thank you very much. I have to, oh, sorry. So I was going to say, I have to intrude in your program now.
I understand.
Yeah.
So do it.
Yeah, okay. The Medical Association of South Africa would like to make a presentation for JP. So I'm asking to.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate the corner that you are creating for us, Prof. We know how close you were to Prof. JP. My name is Mzulungile and my surname is Notigida. I'm the current Chief Executive Officer of the South African Medical Association, which JP served with distinction. With me is the head of publishing at SAMA, Diane Smith. We've got a gift for the family that we've prepared. It's a picture of JP with a message that is coming from the board of SAMA and the branch council here in the Western Cape. It simply reads as follows, so that we don't take too much of your time, that the South African Medical Association extends its heartfelt sympathies to the family, friends, and colleagues of Professor Johannes Philippus van Niekerk. Following his passing, Prof. van Niekerk was a highly respected leader, academic, a humanitarian whose lifelong service to medicine will leave an indelible mark on the profession and all who had the privilege to know and work with him. A dedicated member of the South African Medical Association, he served our profession with distinction in many roles. These include as a SAMA president between 2006 and 2007, and as a managing editor of the South African Medical Journal, a leading journal in the African continent, where his leadership greatly contributed to the journal's success. His contribution to the medical education, research, ethics, professional governance extends nationally and internationally. So the association, on behalf of SAMA, I really want to say we are deeply grateful to the Van Niekerk family for the life that he dedicated to the profession. His exceptional service, wisdom, Prof. It's just a coincidence that we also had wisdom in our definition, and commitment to advancing the medical profession. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and that is for you as a remembrance. Thank you very much. Thanks. You want to open it?
Hi, my name's Joe, and I brought up some moral support for today. And let's just get this going. So, morning, everybody. Somehow between arriving here in Cape Town, like flying in and arriving, I managed to get sick. I lost my voice. At least it's come back now today, which is awesome. But in true dad fashion, although he was a medical doctor, for the kids, Sam Strove and I were just talking about this, for the kids, like treatment was like, he always had somebody else come in and do the treatment and look after us. So this time he's outdone himself. He's assembled like the largest group of people possible for me to get some treatment. My concern is that we'd struggle to get a diagnosis, like to agree on that, yeah. Yeah, and with half the doctors in Cape Town gathered here today, he's gone the extra mile. My only concern, yeah, I've done that. So today is probably the one day I'll be able to get a 350-second opinion on whatever it is that's going on, so I appreciate that. One of the things that I always admired about my father was how intentionally he was about gathering people. So that's a common thread that we're going to have going today. If you invited into his circle, it wasn't by accident. It was very intentional. He carefully curated the opportunities to gather people together. He liked having like-minded people together. He liked having people who would challenge him and other people to discuss different perspectives. My cousin Mari had sent a note, and she put it perfectly. She said his untiring interest in other people and why they think as they do is probably the thing that defines JP for me. You know, whoever he was with almost had his undivided attention. You knew he was paying attention to what you were saying and thinking, and he was genuinely invested in that interaction and that connection. And that curiosity and that respect for difference is what made his gatherings so rich. And from my perspective, personally, this intentionality was absolute. As many of you know, hopefully, I'm adopted, and from birth I was included in this family fully, unconditionally, and without hesitation. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. And I already thought it was going to be tough. From my dad's perspective and my mom, there was never a question. I was theirs. I was meant to be here. And that sense of belonging, of being chosen and embraced, is something I carry with me. Oh, it's a lot harder. He had circles of people. So he had the Probus group, he had the hiking group, he probably had like 3 or 4 hiking groups. And they kind of overlapped. He had his breakfast groups, and then he had this group and that group, and he carefully curated all of those connections and gatherings with military precision. Even our trips away were like military precision. You know, he told you what time you were supposed to be there to leave, and then he called you like 45 minutes before and asked why you weren't there yet. You know? And those circles within circles is like the nexus of it is all here today. He's brought us all together. All those circles, all those interwoven connections represent the tapestry of him. And because we want to keep the speeches short, one of the things I want to kind of wrap up as I go through. He's brought us here so that people can reconnect, renew friendships, and explore them again, and remind ourselves about like keeping those connections are important. Right, and of course, he loved nothing more than to bring people together and teach us something. So he would gather you, and the next thing you know, there'd be a bit of education slid in, always in a way that was entertaining. And he was ever the educator, so he was always finding ways to make medicine or history or nature interesting, and before you knew it, he'd slid a lecture in and you'd learn something. And he loved his, you could be on the top of Table Mountain and you would suddenly realize you were in a little mini lecture, yeah, and he would tell you about all the proteas and the ericas, and off you went. And he loved his restios. My word, he loved telling us about his restios, to the extent that we were watching Wheel of Time, which was filmed partly in Cape Town. And my son Dale and I were watching, and the next thing they surmounted this mountain and they were walking through. There were the restios, you know, grasses, you know. Well, they look like grasses, they're not. That's what you learn. And that same spirit of curiosity and sharing comes through in the two pieces we're about to watch, which I assume many of you have seen many times before. It's Dark Homie Alibama and Lily Marlene. And we're going to cut the preamble, because you should have heard it already, and listen to his performance on the harmonica. For him, these weren't just songs. These were history lessons wrapped in melody and a way to connect us not just to each other, but to the stories of the past. So let's listen and learn and celebrate the joy he just found in sharing the experience and his performance. And so this is him in his element, educator, entertainer, friend, playing the harmonica the way only he could.
Hi, and welcome everyone. I'm reading from script because this is quite tough. In the last days before Dad's operation, I had to have the uncomfortable conversation with him about what if things didn't go well, and inevitable arrangements had to be made. One of my questions was, what kind of rites of passage would you prefer? Those who knew Dad well will not be surprised by his answer. His matter-of-factly response was, he did not need to give it any thought as he would not be around. I'm sure Dad is smiling on all of us. I have little doubt he would be feeling awkward being the center of attention today. He would far prefer the occasion to be less about him and instead a place for old friends and family to reconnect and enjoy each other's company. There are always a few thank yous and acknowledgements to be said. Kelvin Grove, for providing the venue and the staff that have made this possible. Dad was a member here for 52 years. Annette Newmark for arranging the beautiful flowers. I think you can all appreciate how beautiful they are. Dad loved nature and would take time out on his walks to identify and educate all on the common and botanical names of flowers. To the doctors and nursing staff who looked after Dad at Panorama Hospital, their kindness and dedication were evident throughout. To all the medical staff in the lead up to the operation, including those at Vincent Bellotti, and to Pete Sandell, my parents' GP, thank you. Peter Cruz for communicating with the medics at Panorama Hospital so that we could understand his medical condition in layman's terms. Peter had worked extensively on a citation for Dad's celebration of life whilst Dad was alive. Sadly, his passing has changed the timing and format of the celebration of Dad's life. Dad's friends and colleagues, members of his many interest groups in the squash fraternity. There are too many to mention by name. This one I'm adding in, it's off the cuff, but Dad loved his school, Ronnebosch. I know there are lots of Ronnebosch chaps here. And thank you for the headmaster for being here. Sean Simpson. June and his brother Jack. Jack, Dad is going to miss you. He cared deeply for you. To the extended family here today and in Australia, and those that have travelled from afar. Dad's stepbrother and sister, Joe Lazarus and Annette Spakeman. Joe and Dad collaborated and often confided intimately with each other. Annette was incredibly supportive to the family at the hospital and continues to be supportive, especially to me and Mom. My brother Joe and Elizabeth who flew in from the US. My brother-in-law Barry and his son Matthew and children. Opa's grandchildren whom he absolutely adored. Dale, Nicola, James, Tom, and Caroline. Tom could not make it as he's overseas, but he's with us online. A thought for my sister, Meg, who we all miss dearly. Katharina, my partner, she had such a special relationship with Dad and has been responsible for so much of the organizing of today's celebration. Reverend Peter Grasso, whom the family has known for many years, thank you for the support you have provided, especially to Mum. And finally, and most importantly, Mom. You remain so strong, and I know your unwavering faith will get you through the tough times ahead. You are a successful person in your own right. I witnessed the unshakable bond you both had. He loved you. Dad was not a touchy-feely or emotionally expressive person. His love language was service to others. I took comfort that after 65 years of marriage, I could walk into their bedroom early before he had woken and see both of you holding each other. The love and affection was plain to see. Thank you from all of us, Mum. If I've omitted anyone specifically or generally, it's not intended. There have been so many messages of support and condolences from all over the world. The words of kindness have been overwhelming. Dad had more than 1,000 active contact telephone numbers with birthday reminders for many. On a lighter note, I was under the mistaken impression that Dad's passing would allow me time to mourn and wallow in self-pity. No chance. Keeping track and responding to so many people is a full-time occupation, so forgive me if I did not get back to everyone. Address those issues with him. On a more meaningful note, the common thread in all the messages is how much Dad will be missed. I've learned so much about Dad through these messages. He neither needed nor expected affirmation for what he did or achieved. He always introduced himself as plain JP, no matter the setting, even when he booked himself into Panorama Hospital. Besides the doctors, the nursing staff must have been oblivious to who their patient was. Some of the keywords I found in the messages that resonate with me are friend, mentor, quiet humility, active listener, supportive, unflappable, doer, and wise counselor. Dad taught us so many valuable life lessons. Be humble, empathetic, aware of our blessings, think for oneself, and to treat people like you'd want to be treated. On the other hand, Mom's added advice was more practical. Flattery gets you everywhere, and to work hard as women marry good providers. I asked Dad what he would like his legacy to be. He said that he hoped the world would be a little better place for having lived. Personally, I think he exceeded even his wildest expectations. I and we will miss you, Dad, until we meet again. Rest in peace.
There we go. Good. All righty. Can you all hear me? Okay, I'm just going to sing a song that I wrote many years ago when I was at Nutsi, which is a very special place that I'm sure JP was also had a very special place in JP's heart. Yeah, so I don't have too much more to say. I'm just going to sing. This is called Ingaba Ngaba. I'll bring you Fridays in the morning when I wake up with blurry eyes. I'll bring them to you when you're yawning as your dreams vaporize. Because it feels so good to hold, to touch, to smell, to see. And I will stick around till you've had enough of me. Ingabangaba, emlanjeni. Ingabangaba, emoyeni ingabangaba elwanle umfazi endwini. I'll take a walk down to the beach where fat seagulls lie in the sand. I'll wander down to the foamy shoreline, let little creatures crawl down my hands. Because it feels so good to curl your toes into the sand. You know it feels so good to be alive without a plan. Ingabangaba emlanjeni, ingabangaba emoyeni, ingabangaba elwanle umfazi endwini. Ingabangaba. Thank you.
Slight upward adjustment of the microphone for the tall guys. Morning, dear friends and family, Annette, Gerry, and the Greater van Niekerk family. My name's Martin Brossi. I was fortunate and quite a unique privilege to intersect with JP in many aspects of his life. 40 years of squash together, well, not together, but interacting. 40 years of medicine, and about 25 years of Owl Club. So I played league and provincial squash and got influenced by JP for a long time. And these were very special moments. As we've heard, the speakers so far have been incredible, showing how wide a personality and interest he had. Incredible man. And it was the same in the squash community, the medical community, the Owl Club, and various other clubs. I just wanted to slip in a little bit of squash because I did have I'm here actually to speak about owls. But when we were on the UCT squash committee, and JP was our president, JP and Annette were the good old traditional people. They hosted the entire squash committee. This was now 8 hungry students. Come, and Annette would cook this delicious meal, and it would end with special ice cream. And when we had cleared our plates of the ice cream, she pulled out another tub of ice cream. Thank you, Annette. I've also been influenced directly and indirectly in the medical field. I'm also a doctor, but not a radiologist. And as we've heard, JP was a big influencer. He had a massive social conscience. He always tried to help equalize any aspect of society, medicine, squash, whatever it was. If he ever made a mistake on the squash court, it would be an error to give you a point rather than himself. But today, let me just get to the nitty-gritty. It's my Owl Club connection, where I was asked to just reflect on this slightly quirky, traditional dining club, which many of us belong to. It's a black tie dress code. That's why I'm sweating here in my full regalia, just in honor of JP and Owldom. We get together on the third Tuesday of every month. Has been lasting since Jan Smuts's days in around about the Boer War. The third Tuesday of every month for 125 years, this club. It's a convivial evening, interesting conversation with like-minded people, and we have 2 talks, 2 more musical interludes. It's a wonderful club, and you meet very interesting people and make lovely friends. And you can see that JP would fit extraordinarily well into this setting. We all think of him as a wise owl. We've heard that reference from every speaker, and indeed he was a real owl, like us, many of us here present. He, as we've heard, he was understated, hardworking, committed, and he was exceptional on the organizational front. He was articulate, well-researched speaker, very interesting, an avid listener. He was always interested in your story more than his story. And he was a very gentle, indirect counselor in that respect. He had a social sort of activist side, as we've heard, and in Owls, which was for about 110 odd years a male-only club, he pushed for the inclusion of females, which was, or should I say ladies, rather. It's a little bit controversial, but actually very well accepted and a massive success now. So in hindsight, we can see that JP's wisdom came to the fore. JP also had this little dry sense of humor, which complemented his owlish wisdom. And every now and then he'd chuckle quietly, and he had a little asymmetric, quiet, wry smile, and a twinkle in his eyes. A very warm, personal contact with JP that has been expressed by many people. It's the same as I followed my dad, JJ, into Owldom. I'm very pleased that Gerry is now a fully fledged owl, no longer an owlet, a very popular owl. His wings have grown, and I look forward to a lot more owlish interactions with Gerry in the future. In summary, it's been a pleasure and a privilege for me to represent owls and our club in just that little one facet of his very full life. And we've lost one of the important contributors to our club. He was the archetypal wise owl, considered, warm, academic, empathetic, inspiring, erudite, accomplished, and always committed to the cause. So I echo the views of many owls here present in paying respects to a fine man who has now flown to a higher perch. So to dear Annette and Gerry and van Niekerk family, good strength, Godspeed.
Afraid of this. Annette, Gerry, Joe, family of JP, friends of JP. My name is Duncan Martin. For my sins, I'm the editor of the newsletter of the Grote Skuur Probus Club. And it's in that capacity that I'm addressing you, the Probus Club. I've been asked to represent the Grote Skuur Probus Club with this tribute, which I'm honored to present. What is a Probus Club? Very briefly, they're a social club, about 100 members, meet at Kelvin Grove. Is not a do-gooder. It exists solely for the amusement, entertainment of its members. There are about 90 Probus clubs in South Africa, and about 900 in the world. JP joined the club 18 years ago. Annette had actually joined some 4 years earlier. And if one looks at his application form, you can see that Annette actually seconded. She did not propose him, but she seconded as a member of the club. Our president, Philippa Johnson, is out of town, could not be here. Our vice president is Annette Spijkerman, and she is here today. Close family member. To give you a first sense of what JP meant to the club, I'd like to mention a remarkable statistic. As I said, there are about 100 members, current members of this club. I hasten to add that it's a mixed club. There are men and women. Of that 100 current members, JP was either the proposer or the seconder of 25. That speaks to what many people have already said, the breadth of his contact circles and the attention he gave to including his friend in the things that he himself enjoyed and knew they would enjoy. Within the club, he was well known, well loved, very active. He was elected to the committee and served as president for the 2012-2013 year. Over the years, he presented 10 after lunch talks. At every monthly meeting, we have a speaker, and he spoke 10 times. The last of these was called Medical Mishaps, Quacks and Frauds. It was presented in February 2022. Until about a year ago, JP organized and led the club's regular Saturday hiking outings. It's been mentioned he had many clubs, and one of these was the Probus Club Saturday hiking group. And I mean every Saturday morning. He was an avid hiker, knew the trails and the byways of the Cape Peninsula intimately. I'll always remember him for these wonderful hikes and for introducing me, an errant Natalian and Gautenger, to the scenery and fynbos of the peninsula, and for welcoming me as a hiking friend. Perhaps many members will remember him best for having resurrected an earlier, but it came to be forgotten, practice within the Probus Club of arranging what we now call adventures. This is a long trip, once a year, scenic roads, caravan of cars, staying at interesting hotels and guest houses. The first such Probus adventure that he arranged was a 5-day outing in August 2019. 14 people view the West Coast flowers together. We all knew that this had been a practice, that such things had been done, but we'd forgotten. It was about 10 years since the... On his own bat, JP conceived and arranged this whole thing. He handled all negotiations with hotels and restaurants. He handled all the correspondence with participating members. Through his own bank account, he handled all the cash deposits from participants and payments to suppliers. It was simply a huge undertaking that he did on his own. Subsequently, every year, up to and including 2024, he arranged such an adventure. On the road, guess who led the convoy of cars? And what car was he leading it in? His beloved Landy, 26-year-old Landy. Every evening, the adventurers would gather and quaff drinks and listen to short before dinner talks by one of their number. JP arranged these talks in advance, and he always arranged for himself to give one of them. And it was most interesting. The last one was only a few months ago in Struisbaai. One of his talks concerned 3 war-related tunes. I'm sure you could guess. Lily Marleen, Sari Mare, Daar kom die Alabama. Who will forget the wonderful performance that we saw, and you've just seen here now, JP on his little mouth organ performing for us. The Lily Marleen was the actual one that he performed for us. It was absolutely wonderful. JP, we celebrate your life with great fondness. We will remember with pleasure your inspiring leadership of many club activities. We admired and loved you for your quiet wisdom, your practicality, and for the easy graciousness with which you engaged with your fellow Probians. Thank you.
Morning all, Annette and family. JP was dedicated to his medicine, to his family, and loved his sport. Squash was one of the loves of his life. My name is Derek Becker, and I'm here today as the voice of his hundreds of squash friends all over the country, and indeed all over the world. He first played squash for the Orange Free State in the then Salisbury in 1964, when he was a doctor in Welkom. He then moved to Cape Town and played A-section interprovincial for Western Province for many years into the 70s, captaining the side on numerous occasions. During this time, he also served squash with great energy. He was on the Western Province Selection Committee for many years and on the association for years in various capacities, and became an honorary life member of the Western Province Squash Association. He was also a member of the 25 Club, which was a group of band of squash players who helped contribute to the financial needs of young players in the Western Province before the days of sponsorship. He was also a very proud jester. JP served as the chairman of Cape Town Jesters for a period of 7 straight years in the 70s. He upheld the tradition of jesters and believed it was a privilege to be a jester. He applied the objectivity of selection criteria very seriously during his leadership. He also took a great interest in UCT squash, as Martin was referring to, and was an honorary president of the UCT Squash Club. He had a squash court at their home in Brommersvlei Road, and there will be many people here today who played there with him, trained with him, and were coached with him. Western Province Squash also had a regular newsletter at one time, and JP used to contribute to it under the pseudonym Jan Pirwit. Incidentally, in earlier years, Grootski had a team in First League called the Warriors. Some of his medical contemporaries here today of that vintage will remember some of the other doctors who played in that team. There was Ian Huskisson, Peter Baker, Donald Barnes, Bill Hoffenberg. You may remember Bill was a persona non grata where the South African government had got deported. He later completed a prominent medical career in the UK. As a player, JP played with true sportsmanship, but he was fiercely competitive and always showed great fighting spirit. He was extremely fit and never gave up. Unfortunately, he was in the era where we played with those paper-thin barter tackies, and this told in the end as he later had to have both hips replaced. All the above illustrates his service to the game, but these are not what endeared us to him. Everybody loved JP. It was JP the person we all loved, and Annette the person that we all love. JP and Annette were synonymous with grace, warmth, generosity, and endless hospitality. Annette was always there, always helping, always catering, and always hosting visitors. They hosted countless incoming tours. Not only did they provide accommodation, but invariably held the functions in their home. Annette's meals were legend, ably assisted by their loyal housekeeper, Anne Davids, who was with them for 45 years. Anne's 2 children, I think, are here this morning as well. Yes. And traditionally, JP would bring out his tiny little harmonica and have everybody singing Sari Maria and Dark Calling. I'm so pleased you all had a chance to see that. It was such a part of his life. He never stopped being active and hosting, and on the recent incoming Justice tour in the 80s led a walking tour up Lion's Head. JP had a great sense of humour, and many who know him will remember his little sayings, or JPisms as I call it. When asked how he was, he would reply, "I'm suffering from a great happiness." And if you had a good memory, he'd say, "You had a bad forgettery." And one of his famous ones was, "It doesn't matter whether you behave badly or whether you behave well, but for goodness sake, behave." JP was a warm, caring, generous, humble man, and he will always be lovingly remembered. When giving former Springbok Keith Coppin the sad news of JP's passing, he summed it up very well. He said, "JP was one of the proper people of the world." Thank you very much. Thank you.
It has already been alluded to, but I would hope that in our gathering today we would note the one person missing, and that is Meg, who was very much part of the family and loved by JP. And so we acknowledge Meg's presence amongst us in the 2 hymns that are being sung today, because these were the 2 hymns that were sung at Meg's service as well. And Annette wanted that connection that kept Meg and her memories alive today. So I'm inviting us to sing the 2nd hymn in the hymn sheet, a hymn that speaks of God's faithfulness. Would you stand as we sing? Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassion, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Thy faithfulness is thy faithfulness, morning by morning, new mercies I see. Joy I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Please be seated. As I thought of JP's life, I am drawn to a passage of scripture that I think might speak to him as much as it wasn't written for him, it was written many years before. I read from 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 6. As for me, the hour has come for me to be sacrificed. The time is here for me to leave this life. I have done my best in the race. I have run the full distance, and I have kept the faith. All JP ever wanted was to live a life that made a difference. And I think we have spoken to that. And if I could encourage us to choose JP's life as an inspiration for our own. May others say of us, as we have said of JP, to do your best, to complete the race you have been given, and to keep the faith. We're going to light a candle in memory of JP. Annette and the grandchildren will come up and light this candle. After they lit the candle, I will ask you to stand and observe a moment's silence in respect for him. Would you stand for a moment's silence? Let us pray. Eternal God, through your grace, you've given us joy through the life of JP van Niekerk. We thank you for him and for our memories of him. We commend our brother to your perfect mercy and wisdom. For as much as our brother JP has departed out of this life, we therefore commit his body to the ground, earth to earth, dust to dust, ashes to ashes, trusting in the infinite mercy of God through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Would you be seated, please? Joe van Niekerk has, through the magic of AI and the magic of his own fingers, has prepared a song which he hopes will pull this event together. After the song, you're invited to share in continued conversation and tea and snacks. Joe, do it.
Say, have you heard the latest about JP? JP? Blonde hair, blue eyes, JP, the stoic one who pauses so long you think the call dropped the very same, cooler than a summer breeze, with blonde hair, blue eyes, answers that take years to release. Well, let's paint the picture. Let's tell them who this fella really is. He walks in quiet, calm, and wise, but don't you be fooled by those thoughtful eyes. He'll pause, then drop a line so sharp
it hits the room like a jasmine's heart.
And when he speaks, oh, gather round. A JP story, that's the best show in town. Oh my, what a swell fella he is.
He played tennis young, then squash for years.
National level, enough to bring grown men to
all those little black balls bouncing off the wall.
Well, he's chased more of those than most folks chase dreams after all.
And he still talks about them.
Mercy, mercy, what a swell fella he is. He ran marathons there's a team photo anywhere across the land.
Check the end.
Guess who's captain at the head of the band?
And leadership, please, he's got degrees of it.
Medical associations, world education, all the benefit. He never missed a chance to take the helm. What a swell fellow he is. He reads non-fiction only, nothing fake, nothing airy. Give him a novel and he'll look at you scary.
And while some toast with champagne to brighten the brain.
JP says red wine, not champagne.
So good for the brain.
He'll sip a glass slow while he studies something true.
But hand him a fantasy, he'd rather drink glue.
Oh, Sigma as ever, what a swell fella he is. When he met Annette, oh, he put on a show. Walking on his hands everywhere he'd go.
Playing harmonica with no hands at all.
That's one way to make a lady fall.
And that tie trick, sticking straight out like a wand.
Well, she married him anyway, which proves their bond. Oh, heavens above,
What a swell fella he is. Dean of Medicine, Professor Emeritus,
UCT, a career pack fuller than the Cape of Good Seas. They said he helped the whole faculty rise. Though sometimes folks joked he made others lose their faculties in surprise.
still we insist.
What a swell fella he is. Through all the teams, committees, and prestige,
His wife and kids sometimes barely got a squeeze. And that held the fort and the kid.
Megan Well, the troublemaker, and the other troublemaker as well. Yes, indeed, what a swell fella he is. So raise a cheer, let the rafters ring.
To JP, the captain of everything.
From his quiet charm to those long, thoughtful pauses,
He carries the room without needing applauses.
oh yes, indeed, what a swell fella he is. My word, my stars, what a swell fella he is.
Joe, that was so cool. Well done. So just our chief organizer and bottle washer will give us directions from here so that we know where the red wine is.
Well, the red wine's in the bar. We'll meet you all there in an hour or so. Just to let you know from that song as well, that JP had actually heard it, he'd shared it, he loved it, so just to share that as well. We're going to have tea in this room and the next room. We'll be moving chairs out the way as everybody gets up, and you are more than welcome to stay as much as you like, and please enjoy each other's company, introduce yourselves to each other, and make new friends. Thank you.
God bless you. Go in peace.